Welcome to the Retirement Learning Lab, where we help you to navigate the journey to a secure and fulfilling retirement. I'm your host, Van Richards. Today, I want to share with you something that could completely transform how you approach retirement planning. It's a systematic framework that can take you from feeling scattered and overwhelmed about your retirement to having a clear, organized approach that actually works. But before we dive in, I want to mention that everything that we discuss today is purely educational. I'm going to share with you some insights about retirement planning and financial strategies, but nothing that you hear today constitutes investment, legal, or financial advice. Be sure to stay tuned until the end of today's podcast for more information on the limitations of this information. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed by the retirement planning advice that's out there? One expert tells you to do this. Another expert tells you to do that. You read an article that says one thing, then you watch this video that contradicts everything that you just learned. If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. You see, in my 30 plus years of helping people to plan for retirement, I've seen this confusion paralyze more people than I can count. They end up doing nothing because they don't know where to start. They jump from strategy to strategy without a real system. But here's what I've discovered. The people who succeed in retirement planning, that's the ones who go from feeling insecure to completely in control. They follow a similar approach. They use what I call a systematic framework. And that's exactly what I want to share with you today. So let's begin by talking about the problem with most retirement planning. Let me tell you what doesn't work. Jumping around from topic to topic, reading random articles about the 10 best retirement investments or the 5 mistakes that will ruin your retirement. That's like trying to build a house by randomly buying materials without a blueprint. You might end up with some nice lumber and some quality fixtures, but you're not going to have a house that you can actually live in. Most people approach retirement planning exactly this way. They collect bits and pieces of information, but they never put it together into a cohesive system. I'm reminded of something that happened to me actually several years ago. And if you've listened to me talk before, you may have heard me tell this story. So bear with me. It's a story worth telling. My wife and I, my family, we were driving to visit some friends at a lake house in upstate New York. Now, this was back before GPS was common. I know, I'm dating myself here. And you see, we had these vague text directions on my old flip phone, kind of like the communicators that, Captain Kirk used in the original Star Trek. As it got dark, we were driving on some very unfamiliar roads, and our anxiety just grew with each turn. But when we finally reached what we thought was our last turn, the directions just stopped. We didn't know. They told us how to get to the intersection, but not whether to turn left or to turn right. We had to make a choice with no guidance whatsoever in the middle of the night with our kids in the back and dark outside someplace we've never been before. By sheer luck, and I mean by sheer luck, we turned right and found the house. But here's the shocking part. We discovered the next day that had we have turned left, that road dropped straight down into the lake. Talk about a wrong turn that it could have been catastrophic. That experience taught me something profound about retirement planning. Yes, I connect that to retirement planning. Here's how. Having some directions is better than no directions. Can we agree on that? But having a complete systematic approach is what actually gets you safely to your destination. So let's talk about a 3-component system that actually works. So what does a systematic approach to retirement planning actually look like? Well, I've developed what I call a 3-component system. Now, this isn't complicated. In fact, the simpler, the better when it comes to retirement planning. Here's how it works. Let's start with component number 1. I call this the comprehensive organization. You see, the first component is getting completely organized. And I don't just mean putting your papers in a file folder. I mean creating a comprehensive inventory of everything related to your financial life. This includes all of your assets, every account, every investment, every asset that you own. Also, all of your obligations, every debt, every monthly expense, every commitment. Then we have to talk about your goals and your dreams for retirement too. What do you actually want your retirement to look like? And then lastly, but not least, your concerns and your fears. What keeps you up awake at night when you think about retirement? Now, you might be thinking, Van, this sounds like basic budgeting, but it's so much more than that. This is about creating a complete picture of what you want, where you stand today, and where you want to go. Now, you can use whatever system works for you. I'm not here to tell you that one's better than the other. You might want to use Excel, Quicken, Mint. I think actually Mint's been replaced, and Quicken has a system called Simplify. But you can look into that a little bit more if you like, or even just use a simple notebook. It's up to you. The tool doesn't really matter. What matters is that you actually do it. All right, let's talk about component number 2, strategic learning. The second component is what I call strategic learning. This isn't about learning every investment strategy ever invented or memorizing the tax code, which is impossible. It's about understanding the specific risk you'll face in retirement and developing a strategy to address each one. You see, in my experience, there are only 6 major risks that can derail your retirement. Let me run through them with you just a little bit. And if you want to write these down, we'll talk about them in future episodes, but this is just the 6 items, the 6 things that could actually derail your retirement. The first one is longevity risk, the risk of outliving your money. Then there's the risk of inflation. Gosh, we've seen that recently. The risk that your purchasing power will decline over time. Then, of course, there's market risk. We see this all the time. If you invest, you know what I'm meaning. The risk that your investments will lose value at the wrong time. Then there's something that you don't discover as much until you get older, and that is healthcare risk, the risk of unexpected medical expenses. And I'm here as living proof to tell you that having Medicare will not pay for everything. Then there's tax risk. Now, I know in the news recently, we've learned about the big, beautiful bill, which is going to help us with income taxes, but it's not everything. What happened to the idea of completely tax-free Social Security? The risk that taxes will eat away at your retirement income still existed. You have to take that into account. Then there's something that a lot of people don't think about, and that's sequence of returns risk. The risk that poor investment returns early in retirement will absolutely devastate your savings. Now, I'm going to dive deep into each one of these topics in future episodes, but here's the key. You need to understand these risks and have specific strategies to address each one of them. Now, something that overarches all of these things, and I talked about them just a little bit ago when I mentioned to you inflation and taxes, etc. You also have to take into account political risk, government intervention risk, because each time political parties change, things change with your retirement too. So you have to keep that in mind. And we're going to talk about that a lot as we go through future episodes. Let's talk about component number 3, implementation and control. The third component is where you take everything that you've organized and you've learned and you put it into action. This is about creating sustainable retirement income, making smart investment decisions, and knowing when and how to retire. This is where you move from being a student of retirement planning to being completely in control in your retirement destiny as a retiree. All right, let's talk about the framework in action. Now, let me show you how these 3 components work together using what I call the organize, learn, and control framework. Step 1, organize. You start by getting completely organized. We've talked about that. You gather all your financial information, you clarify your retirement vision, you establish a solid foundation for everything that follows, and think of this as getting your roadmap ready. If you use AAA, you're going to AAA and you're getting your directions and you're understanding exactly where you are right now and where you want to go. Have you done this? If you haven't, this is where you need to start. Not with picking investments or choosing insurance products. That'll come later on, but with getting organized. Then number 2, learn. Once you're organized, you can learn effectively. You discover the specific risk that could derail your retirement sooner than later and those that may derail it in the future. And you develop strategies to address each one of those 6 risks that I talked about just a moment ago. But here's the key. Your learning is now focused and strategic. It's not haphazard. You're not pulling this article and watching this video. Instead of randomly absorbing financial information, you're learning what you specifically need to know based on your organized assessment of your situation. Now we get to step 3. Finally, you take control. You implement proven approaches to create sustainable retirement income. You manage your investments wisely. You make informed decisions about how you retire. This is where you become the CEO of your retirement. That's so important. You're in control of it. Now, let's start wrapping some of this up. Why this framework works. This framework works because it's systematic and it's comprehensive. It doesn't leave anything to chance, and it doesn't skip any crucial steps. You're not surprised. Now, I'm not telling you that there are unexpected things that are not going to happen in the future. Of course there are. If you've lived this long in life, you know stuff happens. I've seen this approach transform countless individuals from feeling anxious and scattered about the retirement to feeling confident and having real clarity about their future. When you follow this systematic approach, several things happen. You gain clarity instead of being overwhelmed by all the financial noise out there. You focus on the information that truly matters for your specific situation. You build genuine confidence. Your decisions are based on a complete understanding of your situation, and you have options, not random advice or fear. You achieve financial peace of mind with a clear, systematic place in mind. You can sleep better at night knowing that you've taken concrete steps to secure your future. You also develop resilience because You understand the risk that we've talked about, and you have strategies that are going to help you address them. You're prepared for whatever life throws at you, expected and unexpected. Now, here's special considerations for couples. Now, if you're married, there are some special considerations for implementing this framework. You see, retirement planning is absolutely a team effort when you're married. But here's what I've learned works best. Each spouse should go through the organized step individually first. Then come together to discuss and align your plans. You want to be respectful of each other's ideas. This individual then joint approach ensures that both perspectives are captured before any discussion influences your thinking. You might discover that you and your spouse have different dreams for retirement, different concerns, or different risk tolerances. And you know what? You find out that in life, in your marriage, it's give and take a little bit. That's completely normal, and that's what you want to discover. The key is to identify these differences early so that you can work together to create a plan that works best for both of you. Okay, taking action on this framework. So, how do you actually implement this framework in your life? First off, commit to getting organized. Set aside some time. I'm talking about real time, not just 15 minutes here and there to create a comprehensive inventory of your life. It's going to take some time. You're talking about 20 or 30 more years of your life. Dedicate some time to seeing what that might look like in the future and what you want it to look like. Second, educate yourself just strategically, not haphazardly. Don't just read random retirement articles. Focus on understanding the specific risk that you'll face and the strategies to address them. And then lastly, as I mentioned before, take control. Don't just implement. Make the decisions. Be decisive. Take the actions. Become the active CEO of your retirement. Now, let's talk for a moment about the cost of not having a system. Let me be very clear about something. Eventually, you'll reach an age where making up financial mistakes becomes very difficult, if not impossible. With many aspects of retirement planning, you only get one chance. So having a systematic approach isn't just nice to have, it's absolutely essential. I've never met anyone who regretted getting organized and systematic about the retirement plan. And I've talked to a lot of people about this. But I've met plenty of people who regretted not doing it sooner. Let's talk about a simple test to see how this works. Here's a simple test to see if you need to implement this framework. Can you clearly explain your retirement strategy to a 12-year-old? It's that simple. If your approach is so complicated that you can't explain it simply, it's probably too complicated. You see, when you reach your 70s and your 80s and your 90s, complicated is not a good thing. The right approach to retirement planning should give you clarity and peace of mind, not confusion and complexity. All right, let's talk about your next steps. So what should you do after listening to this podcast? First, honestly, assess where you are right now. Ask yourself, am I organized? Do you understand the risk? Are you in control? Or are you scattered and confused and worried? If you are, don't worry. I've got a plan for you. The second thing that you should do is commit to implementing this framework. Don't just think about it. Actually do it. Follow through. Third, be patient with yourself. This isn't something that you complete in a weekend. It's a process that takes time to implement properly. But I promise you this. If you follow this systematic approach, if you organize, learn, and take control, you'll feel more confident about your retirement than you do right now. Your journey from feeling insecure to being really in control starts with understanding that you need a system, not just more information. That's all for today's episode of the Retirement Learning Lab. If you found this valuable, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and leave us a review. It really helps others who might need this information find this show. Next time, we'll dive deeper into the first step of this framework, getting organized. I'll share with you some practical tools and some strategies to help you to create that comprehensive inventory of your financial life. Until then, remember, the path from insecure to in control starts with a systematic approach. I'm Van Richards, and thank you for listening to the Retirement Learning Lab.
Important disclosure information. This publication or presentation is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered investment advice. Opinions expressed are as of the date of the publication or presentation. Such views are subject to change. Richards Financial Planning does not guarantee the accuracy or completeness of the data presented herein. Van Richards is a managing member of Richards Financial Planning, LLC. Richards Financial Planning, LLC is registered with the Texas State Board of Securities and governed by that entity and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Richards Financial Planning, LLC shall not be responsible for trading decisions, damages, or other losses resulting from or related to the information, data analysis, opinions, or their use. The securities quotes, charts, articles, or other statements regarding the market or additional financial information are obtained from our suppliers' sources, and we believe it to be reliable. However, we do not warrant or guarantee the timeliness or accuracy of this information. Our company, our employees, our information providers, guests, or affiliates are not responsible for damages or liable for any errors or inaccuracies related to this publication or presentation. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. All investments are subject to investment risk, including possible loss of principal. Individuals or other operational entities should consider if an investment or strategy is suitable for them by referencing their financial position, investment objectives, and risk profile before making any investment decision. The views and opinions of guests that may appear or be sourced with this publication or presentation are not necessarily those of Richards Financial Planning, LLC, and affiliates. Richards Financial Planning, LLC, and affiliates are not associated with the guest and their affiliates unless otherwise stated. Throughout our presentations, we may mention related educational products or services, such as online courses or additional resources. These mentions are intended to provide viewers with optional, in-depth learning opportunities related to the topics discussed. The availability of these products does not affect the objectivity of the information presented, and viewers are under no obligation to purchase any mentioned products or services.